Hey guys, this is Gossip Girl from Take My Money Now, and today's video is going to be a thorough review on the TZ Cosmetics Firefly Forest Eyeshadow Palette. Alright, so if you have been following me for any amount of time, especially on my Facebook page, you guys know my obsession with the TZ eyeshadows. TZ Cosmetics is a local Chinese brand. Now, I wanted to do a complete thorough brand review on the TZ brand since I've tried so much of their makeup. But when I saw that they were coming out with this palette and when I saw what it looked on the inside, I was instantly intrigued and I wanted to wait for that video. I wanted for this palette to launch and then to include it in that brand review. But I decided that this palette deserves a video of its own. I feel like TZ Cosmetics has pretty much outperformed their past palettes, which is amazing because their past palettes are also no joke. So anyways, let's just get a deeper look into this palette. We're gonna start with the basics, things like where you can find this palette and how much it costs. I'm also going to give you guys a cost breakdown. I'm going to let you guys know what the inspiration behind the palette was, how is it put together, what the layout is, and how it performs on the eyes. Of course, I'm also going to swatch this palette for you guys. So without further ado, let's just jump right into this video. Alright, so let's start with the outer packaging. This is what the box on the outside looks like. I am absolutely in love with the navy blue packaging on this one. The palette is called the Firefly Forest Eyeshadow Palette, and they've kind of kept that theme with their packaging as well. You kind of get a feel of a forest and there are fireflies in the background. But it's weird that the box on the outside does not say the name of the palette. It just says the brand name. Maybe this means Firefly Forest, I'm not sure, but I am absolutely in love with this navy blue theme that they have going on here. Anyways, on the back we also get some interesting information. We get a list of ingredients here, which I am going to try and translate them, and I'm going to put them down below either in the description box or I'm going to write them in my comment section and will pin that comment on the top. You also get a snapshot of what the palette inside is going to look like. There's some other information on this box as well, but the thing that stood out the most for me was its cruelty-free status. I was so happy to find out that this is a cruelty-free product because the Chinese government requires for all cosmetic companies that are selling their products within China to test on animals just to make sure that these products are safe to be used by human beings. But I think that is a condition for companies that either sell online and have a proper website or that require a shelf space in different stores in China. So I think TZ Cosmetics is one of those brands that sells on AliExpress and it sells on sites like eBay here in China. So they're not required by the government to test on animals. And I was very excited about this because I know a lot of people who care about that stuff. Also, it says it has a shelf life of 36 months, that is 3 years, which is amazing because with the amount of makeup that we makeup junkies have, it's impossible to go through a palette that quickly. So, I mean, it's amazing to see that you can have this product sitting around for 3 years and it won't go bad. So anyways, that is everything on this outer packaging. Now let's talk about the packaging on the product itself. It does say the name of the product right there on the top along with the brand name as well. It is cardboard packaging with magnetic closure, which I really prefer somehow. On the back you get all the same information. Hey, I just realized the ingredient list on the packaging on the inside is in English, which is awesome. Okay, so here you can have a look at all the ingredients and I don't need to put them in the description box anymore. You guys can see if there's anything in these ingredients that is a concern for any of you. But anyways, the packaging is absolutely beautiful to look at. I love looking at it in my vanity. This mirrored gold thing that they have going on is absolutely stunning. I do really enjoy the packaging on this palette, to be honest. It's beautiful to look at. But anyways, let's open this palette up. This is what it looks like on the inside. You do get a very generous size of mirror over here, which is a pretty uncommon combination with cardboard. So I'm interested in seeing how that lasts, but I think it's quite securely put in together. The packaging feels actually very sturdy. I am so obsessed with this mirrored base right here. It is a fingerprint magnet, like it gets dirty pretty easily. I'm pretty sure mine is very dirty at the moment. but it's still very pretty to look at. Anyways, first glance at it and you realize that this was inspired by a Tarte's Pro palette. Now I went ahead and I looked online for the color comparison and everything, and I am going to try and insert a picture of the Tarte's Pro palette somewhere here on the screen, and you guys can see a side by side of the two palettes together. The colors are very similar. The concept is pretty much the same, so I think the main inspiration behind this palette was the Tarte's Pro Amazonian Clay palette. Alright, so let's first talk about availability, where you can find this palette. You can find this palette on AliExpress. If you are anywhere in the world, I think you can get it from their store at AliExpress. I am going to link it in the description box below so you can go ahead and check it for yourself. If you are in Pakistan, you can buy from AliExpress, and you can also buy from my business page where I do take orders 3 or 4 times a year. I am also going to leave the link to my Facebook page down below as well. Now, pricing. This palette will retail for something between $28 or $30, both on my Facebook page as well as AliExpress. The price on my page is also going to be around that same point, slightly lower, but pretty much the same. I am going to be offering this palette on my page for 2,800 rupees, and we are going to be arranging shipments at the end of December. If you place an order at AliExpress for $28, that ends up being something around 3,000 rupees, so you just save just a little bit by placing an order with Take My Money Now. But anyways, with pricing out of the way, let's talk about a cost per gram. And I'm going to be comparing the cost per gram of this palette and the Tarte's Pro Amazonian Clay. I don't know whether that is a fair comparison or not, because I've never tried the quality of the Tarte's Pro eyeshadows. I cannot speak for that. But because this is kind of a dupe for that palette, I think I should be giving you guys a cost comparison. But anyways, according to the Sephora website, you get 20.6 grams of product in the Tarte's Pro eyeshadow palette, and that's because they say you get 20 eyeshadows at 1.03 grams each. The palette retails for $55, so the cost per gram turns out to be something close to $2.67 per gram, and that is exclusive of the tax that you pay at checkout. After adding tax, your total cost per gram ends up being something close to $3. Now, coming towards this palette, and on the box it says you get 23 grams of product. The price of the palette is something close to $28. So the cost per gram on this eyeshadow palette is going to be something close to $1.2. You do not pay any tax on top of that amount, so that is all that you pay for this eyeshadow. So it's like $1.2 per gram for this eyeshadow palette versus $3 per gram for the Tarte's Pro. A whopping $1.8 per gram difference in the price of both of these products. I don't know the quality of the Tarte's Pro, how good that is, but as far as the quality of these eyeshadows are concerned, they are amazing, and we will talk about that in detail later in the video. For now, let's just jump right into some discussion on the layout of this palette and what I find really interesting and intriguing about the way this palette has been organized. I always respect TZ Cosmetics for never making fakes. They are always good about it. They brand them in their own way, just like this one. It's a completely different branding than that on the Tarte's Pro. The idea inside might be similar, but that's alright. That's what e.l.f. does. That's what Makeup Revolution does. Makeup Revolution actually makes very similar products, but I respect brands that do not make fakes. That's what I'm trying to say here. But anyways, apart from everything else that they switched up, the name, the packaging, everything else, I think TZ also did something very smart with the packaging on the inside. Now you guys will see that the Tarte's Pro Amazonian Clay has mattes in the square pans and these shimmers in the circular pans. Now what TZ did is they switched things up, and now you get circular pans for the matte eyeshadows and these bigger square pans for the shimmer eyeshadows. You get 20 mattes and 4 shimmers. So because you only have 4 shimmers in this palette, I think it was pretty smart of TZ to make these pans bigger and in a square form so you could get more product. I'm not sure if that is also the case with the Tarte palette. I have not taken a closer look at it, but by looking at the palette on the Sephora website, they just say 20 eyeshadows into 1.03 grams each. So that makes me think that all 20 of them are 1.03 grams. But that's just a little observation. If that is the case with this eyeshadow palette, I think it's pretty smart and genius of TZ Cosmetics to do that. Now the layout is pretty much the same. The colors are placed in the same orders. I think because the Tarte's Pro palette is named a Pro palette, I think that was catered to or targeted towards pro artists. And I think obviously because this is a dupe, this is also wonderful for the pro artist. The layout of it really intrigued me, and of course we have to give some credit or all credit for that to Tarte for coming up with this layout. I think the layout is pretty genius. Now, it's a wonderful palette for a pro artist because you can cater to light, medium, and deeper skin tones according to these different rows. Other than that, you also get a great variety when it comes to warm and cool undertones. So if your clients have warm undertones or they have cool undertones, you don't have to worry because this palette has got it all. You have a beautiful array of warmer shades, then you have some great cool tones as well. So I think it's a wonderful palette for a pro artist. Now, that being said, I also think that this is such a smart layout for a beginner, and again, all credits to Tarte for doing that. But we're speaking about this palette, and let's see how this palette has been organized. So based on the kind of eye look that you're going for, you can use these colors in the first column as your highlight shades or setting your eye primer kind of shades. Then you have your transition shades all lined up here. Then next you have your crease shades. Next we have all the outer corners, and then we have the lid shades. So that's genius for someone who doesn't want to think which colors to put where, or is a beginner at makeup and does not know which colors would go well together. It's so smart that this palette has been laid out in a way that takes your hand and guides you through your eye look. So I think that is absolutely amazing. Alright, so far everything sounds amazing. Everything sounds perfect. The palette is packaged beautifully. It's beautiful to look at inside out. The price is amazing. You are saving so much money buying this over the Tarte's Pro. The layout is genius. It's good for a beginner. It's good for a pro artist. It's absolutely amazing. Everything sounds good. But at the end of the day, what matters the most is performance. So let's start with the texture and pigmentation. When you put your fingers in these eyeshadows, you will not believe how soft these eyeshadows are. I used to feel like the mattes in the TZ35J are soft. I was kidding myself. Don't take me wrong, 35J still has my heart. That is my absolute favorite from TZ Cosmetics, but only because of its color selection. That is the best palette because of the colors in it. I think this is the best palette by TZ Cosmetics as far as the quality of the eyeshadows is concerned. I will be daring enough to say that these eyeshadows are as good as the eyeshadows in Anastasia Modern Renaissance. Now, you guys know how much people love the Modern Renaissance, and I think I'm right when I say these eyeshadows are just as soft, just as creamy, just as pigmented, and just as blendable. Now, these two, the orange one and this one, they are my absolute favorite shades from the entire palette. I think they absolutely look stunning smudged on your lower lash line. I wanted to give you guys a little swatch without pausing the camera. Of course, I am going to insert swatches at the end of this video, but I just wanted to give you guys a closer look at these eyeshadows when I pick them up with my finger. So you guys can see they're very pigmented, they're very, very soft. But they aren't chunky. They are a little powdery, which, like I said, because they remind me of the Modern Renaissance formula, I feel like some powderiness is to be expected from eyeshadows that are this soft. So let me give you guys a little swatch of these eyeshadows, and this is what they look like up close. Very, very soft. They're soft even to look at. I love these eyeshadows, and I think they blend so nicely on the eyes as well. I will have to say though, this shade right here, which is a little more cool toned, maybe because it's cool toned, when I first used it, I found it to be getting a little muddier, and I felt like it was oxidizing on me. That being said, after a while, when I was done with my eye look, I think the eye look looked very blended, very nice. Nothing looked muddy, nothing looked oxidized. But when I first started applying it, I did feel like this color was oxidizing on me just a little bit. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of heads up on that. But otherwise, I feel like these eyeshadows perform amazingly on the eyes. The shimmers are also beautiful. They go on very smoothly. The brown one here on the top is a little more powdery and a little more chunky than the rest of them, but nonetheless it performs beautifully on the eyes. Like all the shimmer shades, I like applying these eyeshadows with a little bit of glitter glue underneath. Otherwise, I feel like I do experience a little bit of creasing just because of a very prominent fold on my lid. So I always, no matter which eyeshadows I'm using, I always like to go in with glitter glue. So that is what I like to do with this palette as well. Now, like I mentioned, they do have a little bit of kick up. When you put your brush in, you do experience a little bit of powder poofing out of the pan. I will try and film a clip of putting my brush into different shades, and I will try to insert that in this video while I'm talking so you guys can see the kick up for yourself. Now let's talk about how long lasting these eyeshadows are. So I did a full day test with these eyeshadows on, and I did various check-ins on my Snapchat. I had these eyeshadows on for about 11.5 hours, and they were amazing. Especially the matte shades that I had put in the crease, they stay put. I washed my face 3 times during the day and they did not budge. Everything else on my face, the entire face of makeup had disintegrated. These stay put. I forgot to apply my glitter glue that day, which is why I did experience a little bit of creasing after washing my face a few times. But the vibrancy wasn't lost right away. I had the vibrancy for the first 6 hours. I had the crease shades on for 11 hours or so. I was so blown away and so impressed with the performance of these eyeshadows, with my face being washed 3 times during the day and with them being applied for more than 11-12 hours. I feel like so many high-end eyeshadows in my collection would not perform as well as these did. And speaking of washing my face, you guys know water resistance is an important consideration for myself and all my Muslim sisters out there who have to pray during the day and who have to wash their face during the day. So our products have to be a little more water resistant. I did wash my face 3 times during that day. I did experience a little more fading after the second wash, but overall the eyeshadows faded so gracefully. I did not have any bald spots. The eyeshadow did not start smudging or running down on me. It started fading, but it faded so gracefully throughout the day. It faded evenly. So overall, I think I've mentioned nothing but good things about this palette today. The only bad thing I would have to say is that because of the kick up, you might experience a little bit of fallout from these eyeshadows. If you're not careful, you do have to tap the excess off from your brush a couple of times so that you don't get any fallout. Now let's just jump right into some swatches and then I'll be right back. Alright guys, so that was it for a closer look at this palette. To conclude, it's an amazing palette. It is the best palette that TZ Cosmetics has ever come out with, and I will 100% recommend you guys check this out. I will be leaving all the links in the description box below in case you're interested. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful or entertaining. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and do not forget to hit the subscribe button before you leave. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!